This video will focus on the discussion of 21st century literary genres. With your previous course of 21st century literature of the Philippines and in the world during your senior high school, you most likely have encountered some of the genres, or you may have come across some of these over the internet. That is why this video will more likely be a run-through about these genres. 21st century literary genres. In this discussion, we focus on the categorization of 21st century literary genre based on the book Lit 21 New Literary Genres in the Language Classroom by Thaler Engelbert. As compared to the canon literary genres that we know of, these literary genres are categorized not only based on the writing style, into which canon genres are commonly categorized, but also in terms of forms, style, subject matter, historic origin, intended readership, mode, or performance context. In this 21st century, great interest has been put into visual fiction, and its subtypes have been popular specifically to young adults, including graphic novels, illustrated novels, manga, and doodle fiction. Their main characteristics is, of course, a significant use of graphics to portray events in the stories. Both graphic novels and illustrated novels heavily use graphics to portray scenarios in the story. However, the main difference is the amount of text used in the entire literary piece. As compared to the graphic novels, text in the illustrated novels are more predominant in the sense that only the most significant or sensational events of the story is illustrated with graphics. Manga is indeed a very popular genre of graphic fiction which originated in Japan. This is actually a form of comics in nature, but the difference is that it has its own features, like being read from right to left, simply because this is how actually the Japanese reads. Their distinguished features include their own styles of drawings, like the Japanese style you see in animes, since the anime are most often adaptations of manga which have become sensationally popular, like the One Piece series. Doodle fiction is something similar in principle with the other visual fiction categories, but is most likely different in terms of the style of drawings. Doodle fiction literally incorporates doodles in between the texts. Textstock novels are hybrid texts in the sense that they combine features of 21st century modern literature with features of the traditional 18th century epistolary novel. Text talk is something that you may have already encountered before in the Philippine pop lit context. One best example of this is online novel Vince and Cat, written by Jenny Ruth Almocera, which was later on adopted into the famous movie Vince, Cat, and James. The text comes in the form of emails, IM novels, blogs, or even in the form of literature. If you have not encountered what literature is, this video will definitely give you further details on its nature. One prominent characteristic of the DJ fiction is that it is interactive. It contains hyperlinks, moving images, sound effects, and other interactive features, which makes it very much digitized and of a 21st century vibe. Crisis fiction pertains to the literary pieces which tackled global crises as their themes. They basically existed because writers found inspiration from human experiences evoked by these global crises, like the September 11 terrorist attack on the World Trade Center in 2001 and the financial crisis in 2008. The same happened in the Philippine context when the People Power Revolution happened in 1986 as Filipinos' reaction to martial law. Post-apocalyptic fiction has been one of the most popular genres in the 21st century, particularly literary pieces which are intended to young adults and exploring world-end scenarios like oppressive regime, destruction of individuality, silencing citizens, civilization of the earth collapsing or has already collapsed. Variants of the post-apocalyptic fiction includes climatic, natural, man-made, medical, and imaginative apocalypse. Famous examples of these include the Hunger Games series by Suzanne Collins, the Maze Runner series by James Dashner, and the Divergent series by Veronica Roth. Diversity fiction also came to the fore in the 21st century due to the continuous expanse of the concept of globalization, which comes with the idea of Marshall McLuhan that the world is becoming a global village, which also calls for a more open acceptance of cultural and individual diversity and awareness. Cosmopolitanism in political theory is the belief that all people are entitled to equal respect and consideration no matter what their citizenship, status, or other affiliations happen to be. This is also a result of the continuous expanse of globalization in the 21st century. Miscellaneous category is considered a residual category not only results from being at a loss to find common terms for the other types, but also reflects the diversity of today's literary world. Mythopoeia, which literally means myth-making or sometimes called epic fantasy novels, is one of the most interesting category of fiction, which is also well loved by many as exemplified by the success of the series A Song of Ice and Fire by George R. R. Martin, The Chronicles of Narnia by C.S. Lewis, and the Lord of the Rings series by J.R.R. Tolkien. Fanfic, short for fan fiction, is literally made of fiction created by fans. With much interest with their favorite series like Harry Potter or Game of Thrones, fans who are also into writing create their own version or even extended version of the events in the series. Progression literature put a heavy emphasis on the past pursue and often subjective truth imitate how people perceive time and events in their lives, and usually conclude with open-endedness, leaving readers to form their own ideas on the characters' futures. This means this type of literature focuses on the perception of the realizations of the character in the past, which leads to their conception of the future. Shorties are literally short narrative texts which tell stories. Bizarro, from the word bizarre, is a genre of weird fiction which is characterized by a bizarre, fantastic, or unconventional approach. This genre of weird literature contains both strange and fascinating, thought-provoking, and funny elements by depicting an unstable universe where the inexplicable becomes the norms and the incongruities are made flesh. The example Shatner Quake by Jeff Burke in 2009 is a novel with an unstable universe with lots of incongruities about every character that Star Trek's lead actor William Shatner has ever played.